Hi everyone, this is Rizwan here from Sustainable Factors. I'm a sustainability and enterprise risk transformation consultant. For further information, you can contact me on LinkedIn at Sustainable Factors. Please do subscribe to the YouTube channel. We've just gotten that started. And of course, you can get me on my website, sustainablefactors.com/Rizwan Malik. In this presentation, I'm going to give you a very basic introduction where I categorize the approaches that you can take to deliver those TCFD recommendations. Please note, however, that this presentation is an extract from the wider TCFD Alignment Maturity Assessment presentation, which I will link in the box below. So the TCFD, they use various methods to enable you as an organization and help you deliver against its recommendations. And these methods can broadly be categorized into three main areas, like techniques, tools and capabilities, and of course, other frameworks and standards which can help you achieve the requirements of the TCFD. And I know this last category can make things somewhat confusing, so I'll come back to that in a moment. Starting with the techniques, one of the techniques used are actual direct instructions. Okay, these are instructions essentially set the scene in terms of what outputs and what outcomes are required by your organization. So you can use them, I guess, in program mandate meetings and project level kickoff meetings to help really bring that coalition across your business and nurture that initial coordination of interest levels, involvement from those internal and external stakeholders. So these instructions will ask you, for example, to describe a particular process and disclose how a particular process is adopted within your organization. So they're very output and outcome-led instructions. Now, as an extension to this, the TCFD will also request for you to describe and disclose against a particular key performance measure, such as time or achieving certain targets. So another technique is where the TCFD offers you a set of principles. Okay, so when preparing and coordinating your disclosures, there are a set of principles that enable your disclosures to be delivered in a controlled and consistent manner, and of course become more effective in how they are delivered. But the key technique that I want to focus on are the probing questions. Okay, these are probing questions that are designed to really get you thinking so that the information you start to gather in that journey to answering those questions, that information will then be part of the core template which you will use to communicate your overarching management and understanding of the climate-related issues that are impacting the business. So probably worth noting that these probing questions have also formed the raw ingredients to the TCFD Alignment Maturity Assessment. So the good news here is that the assessment is directly hinged into the TCFD, and it won't be alien to your current efforts. Now, I won't really go into too much detail here with regards to tools and capabilities, but it's enough at this stage to say that, for example, scenario analysis is really the distinguishing feature of the TCFD's guidance. Scenario analysis fundamentally weaves through the core elements of the TCFD's guidance, particularly allowing you to gain some foresight. And it's actually this foresight, this forward-looking element that really distinguishes the TCFD framework, the TCFD's framework from the other frameworks out there, insofar as disclosing the potential impact of climate change into the financial position of the business. Then, of course, you have risk and opportunity impact matrices, which are they're actually conventional in-house tools that can be adapted so that they can be used as part of your overall enterprise risk management framework. And benchmarking. So benchmarking is a big presentation in itself, right? But I would really advise big organizations to start participating in benchmarking frameworks, particularly in the corporate real estate dimension, given its large proportional weight as both a business enabler, because you need corporate real estate in many of the large manufacturing businesses, for example, but your corporate real estate also contributes to your overall carbon emissions. So it's quite important to understand where you sit in comparison to the sector perspective. And climate modeling and ESG data is probably quite self-explanatory here. And finally, as I mentioned, there are other reporting and measurement frameworks and standards, which when you participate in that framework, you will by default comply with some of the requirements of the TCFD. So much so that the CDP, in fact, they claim that by participating in their framework, you will go beyond the TCFD. And the CDP, along with the other incumbent frameworks like SASB, along with the IIRC and CDP, they've been consolidated into the ISSB. You have GRI. These are what we call the incumbent frameworks because they're the most prominent ones out there at the moment that are being used for across the reporting landscape. And these frameworks have mapped their probing questions and requirements to the probing questions and requirements of the TCFD. So if your approach has been to use an incumbent framework as your go-to source with an intention to then backfill the TCFD gaps, right? Because they're mandatory drivers to now use the TCFD. So if your approach has been to first look at the incumbent frameworks, then essentially say, all right, what's missing from the TCFD alignment? Then you probably want to regroup now and see where you are in terms of TCFD alignment maturity.